was scientists Luella and Winthrop Kellogg and their 10-month-old son Donald. But before we carry on, here's some background information to the Kellogg's and why this young chimp became a resident in their house. Winthrop and Luella had married in 1920. The couple had met in Indiana University while studying. Winthrop was involved in a very diverse set of research subjects, but throughout the 1920s focused on conditioning and learning. He was fascinated with relative influence of nature and nurture on behaviour, and if you could isolate the nurture element. What if you could raise an animal, a primate for example, in the exact same way as you would an infant? Would the chimpanzee's development change, or maybe would it even begin to act like a human? He had been planning the concept of a comparative experiment during his postgraduate days at Columbia when studying for his masters in 1927. Kellogg during this time was fascinated with accounts of feral children living with wolves. He believed that the infants learned to live like wolves because that was what their environment demanded of them. Thus, if the tables were turned with a wild animal could nurture overall heredity and even humanize it, the birth of Kellogg's first child offered a unique opportunity, and that was to comparatively raise the child alongside a primate. Kellogg devised if he could raise a chimp with Donald, their son, like siblings, he could then see the nature differences. The chimpanzee wouldn't be a pet, but treated in the exact same way as the human child. They would be fed by bottle, bathed, clothed, handled and pushed around in a pram. It would be induced to walk upright the same as a child, and would be corrected in its mistakes like a human as well. The chimpanzee would also be taught and encouraged to eat with a spoon and to play like a child with children's toys. The primate would not be allowed to learn in any other way than the human way, thus allowing the experiment a chance to succeed in creating a human acting chimp. In order to facilitate his experiment, Kellogg would seek help from Yerkes. He received the Social Science Research Council Fellowship to work at the Yale Arthropod Station in Florida in order to prepare for his experiment in 1931. Needless to say, this would necessitate the Kellogg's family moving to Florida, and not long after, Gua the chimpanzee would join the family to start this bizarre experiment. Gua and Donald were introduced at the ages of 7.5 and 10 months respectively in the summer of 1931, and in every conceivable way the two were treated by Winthrop and Luella as if they were brother and sister. Straight away the Kellogg's started noting the physical and behavioural differences between the two infants. The former was pretty easy as the two were different species of animals, and with Gua having longer arms than Donald and much greater physical abilities. Gua had nearly all of her teeth, whereas Donald only had
difficult.
two. To discover the differences, both physiologically and psychologically of the two, Kellogg thought up some strange and somewhat cruel experiments. Kellogg took great interest in the differences in how the two's bone structures developed. To explore this, he tested the differences by sound, by hitting both Donald and Gua's head with a spoon to try and hear a difference in the hardening of the skull. He found that Donald's head radiated a dull thud, whereas Gua's made a harsher sound, hinting at the chimpanzee's bones being more hardened. Bizarrely, Kellogg had previously x-rayed Gua and already knew her bone density was equal to that of a 2-year-old human. To ascertain the differences between the two's reaction times, the Kellogg's devised an interesting experiment.
There's some other crazy
Both Donald and the chimpanzee were placed in front of a motion picture camera. This was to allow reviewing of the reactions later on. After the two had settled and the camera was recording, a revolver was fired in the air behind them. Both were startled, and it was discovered that Gua reacted more quickly than her human sibling.
Why a gun?
The experiment was repeated a few months later with 5 other children, ranging in age between 17 months
That monkey was
and
on his
8.5
though,
years. The basic day for the 2 test subjects consisted of a 7 a.m. wake up with 7:30 a.m. breakfast, then until 8:30 a.m. sit with the adults at the breakfast table. From 9 in the morning until lunch, the time would be filled out with controlled observations, car rides, outdoor and indoor play, photographing and various experiments.
When does the monkey go
After
crazy?
lunch at 12:15, nap time followed by a bath time. And between 15:30 and 1600, more experiments, observations, playtime and tests. To end up the day at dinner at around 1800 hours, followed by bed at 18:30.
What a nice day.
The days were not always run strictly to this plan,
A lot of
as the
observations.
Kellogg's had various different
From
engagements.
9 to 12 and fucking, what's 15?
During the experiment's
3 to
initial 2 weeks, Guar's
6.
reflex behaviour was recorded. An interesting behaviour was noted. The chimpanzee had issues in her balance after standing upright. There were 2 conclusions that the Kellogg's family made about this.
It's stupid.
The first being due to her still not being fully developed. But the other conclusion was that she was becoming disorientated due to having to look up at her human observers more than if she was in the wild. Probably a bit of both, as this new environment would definitely have been confusing to her. Gua adapted very quickly to her new sleeping arrangements. A cot was constructed and was designed to be usable for an infant child with mattress, clean linens and even night clothing. When this was temporarily removed, her reaction was predictable. She began to cry out in despair. Gua's reactions when sleepy were very characteristic of a human child. When picked up, she would try and cuddle up, and when sat up, her head would nod down, only to come back up startled by the motion. For the first 2 months, Gua
just a
napped
regular
more than
baby
Donald,
monkey.
mainly after meals, but as she got older, she slept less in the day, eventually getting to the 1 nap as outlined in the day schedule. Donald, on the other hand, was sleeping 2 or more hours in the afternoon nap time. Gua slept during the night without issues throughout the experiment, something that from experience isn't something that a human child often does. But as the experiment progressed, she started to make a nest with her bedding, a thing that chimpanzees do in the wild with twigs in trees.
Fucking Donald.
She hadn't seen anyone else do this, and thus showed the behaviour was possibly hereditary, or could be perceived as an infant playing in their bed in the night. Throughout the experiment, both subjects were observed during their physical development. Donald had a walking age stroller.
Okay, damn, they gave my nigga a stroller at how old?
Donald, throughout the experiment, both subjects were observed
Look at how little this monkey is.
Donald had a walking age stroller.
Why are they trying to teach this nigga how to walk, bro? To a fucking monkey, just let him do his thing.
This was because human infants don't develop walking until at least 10 months. Gua, on the other hand, could walk by the time she was with the Kellogg's. She also had a stroller, but she used it as a toy instead of a walking aid.
Yeah, it's a monkey.
Interestingly, Gua was beginning to mimic the way humans walk, adopting a more upright posture. The chimp was showing much quicker level of development as Donald for the age.
Donald holding
the
him
experiment
back.
continued to observe the differences between the two in the way they interacted with their environment. During the toddler months of childhood, the beginnings of reading and language start to develop. Part of this is the ability to point at things that interest the infant, and Gua exhibited these behaviours as well. The 2 infants, almost right from the start of the experiment, seemed to enjoy each other's company, with Donald showing great delight in interacting with his new sister. Gua would hold out hands to Donald, stroking her hair. As the experiment progressed, it seemed
Donald
like
got
the
a crush
two,
on her?
especially Gua, had become attached to each other, always making a beeline for him when he entered the room.
Now, bro, I am losing my mind at this Gua and Donald story, bro. They living it up.
Got more excited when playing with Donald. If Gua was admonished for doing something wrong, Donald would go up to her and hug the chimpanzee. As Donald's speech developed, he was able to even say his sister's name.
Wow.
When another older child called Martha was introduced, Gua behaved similarly by hugging the 3.5-year-old, smelling her hair and holding her hand. Interestingly,
nice.
Gua was much more reserved and timid around human adults. which to me sounds very similar to how a human child may act. Loud and excited with
That's
their
a
peers,
monkey.
but quiet and shy around adults. Gua's actions around new adults was even more shy and even at some times seemed fearful. The pair's interactions with other animals was characteristically childlike as well, with Gua stroking the next door neighbour's cat and having seemingly no fear in approaching adult dogs.
Oh damn, we getting deep
like
in this
a human child. But this would change at the age of 11 months, when a puppy barked at her after she had mistakenly taken the dog running as a game of tag.
11 months.
From then on,
this is like in the movie Planet of the Apes. Remember with the dog?
I'm scared of almost all other animals, including chickens, cats, and even birds in the trees. Gua's emotional responses
is it gonna be like Planet of the Apes?
Admonished or punished for any number of minor behavioural infractions elicited
Caesar?
an interesting
Is Caesar?
response. She would noticeably become distressed.
No!
Approach the experimenters for affection or a kiss as a form of forgiveness for committing the faux pas. This is
Look!
Or a rest. And then approach the experimenters for affection or a kiss as a form of forgiveness for committing.
Oh my god!
This is a similar type of behaviour.
This is based off a true story.
That comes on later in social development.
Oh no!
To 24 months. This showed that Gua was
it's real
faster
Planet of the
emotionally
Apes.
than Donald, and that she was learning very human-like behaviours. She had mastered opening doors.
Remember when that nigga Caesar would get in trouble and he put his hand out, he would get in trouble and that nigga would have to go like, "It's okay, Caesar."
Especially a swinging door a month before Donald. At the age of 1 year, Gua had figured out that light switches controlled the electric light bulbs. As such, when an adult...
Oh, there you go. Here comes the Force Awakens right here.
a hand up to the switch, Gua would look at the light in anticipation of its illumination. The experimenters attempted to teach both how to play patty cake. Donald picked it up rather quickly and with little prompts happily followed the game. Gua, on the other hand, never learned how to play properly, even though she was given daily opportunities to practice.
With Dro Kenji,
the two subjects also underwent potty training. Gua had more accidents than Donald and was seemingly embarrassed when she made them.
Oh, my boy
Eventually,
cooking.
she would indicate that she wanted to go to the toilet by oohing and holding her genital area. This would develop to her going to an experimenter and indicating by tugging on the adult's trousers.
Radio girl, she had to go home.
Experiment, both of the subjects were given the opportunity to use a spoon. Like many other observations, subjects were by tugging on the adult's trousers.
This nigga can use the bathroom?
Throughout the experiment, both of the subjects were given the opportunity to use
She
a
got
spoon.
a sister? What's your Spotify?
Like many other observations,
I don't even know. I can
Kellogg
ask.
saw that Gua was way ahead in proficiency than Donald. By 13 months, she was using the spoon for self-feeding with little mess, in contrast to Donald, who had mastered the skill by around 18 months.
Damn,
Another
this
test
monkey's
was
smart as
devised
fuck.
where a reward was placed behind a wire mesh attached to a door frame. The only way to get to the reward is via the use of a hoe to drag it under a small gap in the mesh.
Kiana for her, though.
Although both figured out the solution at around 100 attempts,
keeper.
Gua proved to be more consistent in her success rate. The Kellogg's wanted to probe into a vital part of the human experience next, and that was something that makes us unique.
I feel like it's about to get good. I feel like it's about to get good.
This part is where Gua would fall behind and Donald would develop some strange
song with
new
the fake
behaviours.
Memoria.
Gua's language development differed to that of a human child, in the sense that she would communicate
I think you're talking
her
about
wants physically, like pointing to her mouth for food. As we saw with her potty training, the need to empty her bowels was indicated non-verbally. This was the same for when she wanted to play, by grabbing one or both hands of her intended playmate. But when she wanted to play,
baby, boot up.
This was the same for when she wanted to play, by grabbing one or both hands of her intended playmate.
It's such a cute monkey.
She would also pull experimenters' hands to
you about to go
items she
crazy?
needed help with.
My homie's brother is actually one of LMA's producers. That's actually hella crazy, bro. That's actually hella crazy.
The vocal communication Gua achieved was limited to oohs, ahs, and grunts. This is where Donald exceeded as almost from the start of the experiment he was attempting to vocalize his emotions and needs. This would develop into vocalizing actual words, a feat Gua failed to reach.
Damn, never could talk.
But something rather worrying began to become apparent in Donald, in that his speech became stunted. This is likely due to his lack of socializing outside the experimental setting,
no friends.
And as such,
go take a shit and watch a movie. We'll be here.
By interaction of one's peers. He was only in possession of around 6 words, but he did show signs of vocal imitation.
Wait, this nigga can only use 6 words? Donald!
Instead from his chimpanzee sister. The Kellogg's noticed Donald barking like a dog to communicate certain emotions. The child would also screech, scream, and even ooh like an ape. Ooh, ooh. Gua, although not learning to speak words herself, did learn the words spoken to her. Initially, she would react just to the tone of the way the words were spoken, but she began to show signs of being able to differentiate between different commands. Initially, she would react to no and kiss, but her word reaction vocabulary eventually expanded to around 95 words,
95
including the ability to point out parts of her anatomy when asked. Donald, from the start of the experiment, was slow to learn commands, but this is probably attributable to his lower mobility compared to Gua. Once he was more proficient with climbing and walking, he would overtake his sister. Donald's apparent social
growth spurt
and vocal issues caused concern by the 9th month of the experiment in Luella, and as such, the experiment was abruptly brought to an end. Gua was evicted from a human household and sent back to Robert Yerkes on the 28th of March 1932. From there, she would be the subject of a number of other experiments conducted by Robert's wife.
They put this nigga back with the nigga was shooting guns and oh my.
Yeah.
The nigga was hitting him with the spoons.
The data collected from the study, and what was the result of the 9-month
Donald, you fucking dumbass! If all you could do is fucking say some goddamn when the nigga knew 9 words. Damn it, Donald, you got my nigga evicted.
Writing a book and publishing.
He's in there. Donald, say something. This nigga said,
He was disappointed that Gua
get this monkey out of here. This nigga's corrupting this household.
Immersing the ape
I thought this nigga had beat up. I thought it was like Planet of the Apes.
Of a wild raised by wolves child. It's undeniable that Gua did develop many human-like behaviours, such as walking more upright, being relatively potty trained,
good ass little monkey didn't do nothing wrong. Didn't hurt nobody. Got smart, learned words.
Showing off her problem-solving skills. Ultimately, Gua was limited by the fact that she was a chimpanzee.
They got my girl Gua fucking fly out here and everything. That's crazy.
Language.
What is this, a summer dress? That's insane.
Can only take you so far until nature catches up. Initially, the experiment went public, and the article was published in the American Psychological Journal. It was written in such a way as to appeal to as many people as possible. This, unsurprisingly, generated a lot of interest in the press at the time. But the biggest criticism came from the use of who were questionable with a child.
There's people hating on
and
it.
Specialising in psychiatry.
Damn. See if they got another video. That was fire.